Only one company on the entire planet knows how to build the single most complex machine used to make advanced computer chips. That company is ASML. Their machine uses extreme ultraviolet light to print tiny circuits onto silicon wafers at a scale smaller than most people can imagine. For years, the technology was locked away from China by export rules. China could not buy the finished tool. So the country decided to build its own version from the ground up. Reports from late 2025 and into 2026 say a working prototype now exists inside a high-security laboratory in Shenzhen. The machine fills nearly an entire factory floor. ASML's commercial systems fit into a space closer to the size of a school bus. The Chinese version is much larger because the engineers chose different engineering paths to solve the same problems. They could not simply copy every restricted part. They had to invent around the barriers. The story involves exploding metal droplets, mirrors smoother than anything used in most telescopes, a gas that also fills party balloons, and knowledge that lives inside the heads of engineers who once worked on the original machines. If you like deep looks at technology that most people never hear about, hit like and subscribe so you do not miss the next one. This is the real account of how a country is trying to rebuild the most advanced manufacturing tool on Earth one piece at a time. To understand the size of the challenge, you first have to look at the hardest step of all, creating the light itself. An EUV lithography machine is basically a super precise printer. Instead of ink on paper, it uses light to draw microscopic circuits on silicon. The smaller the circuits need to be, the shorter the wavelength of light that is required. Modern advanced chips need light at exactly 13.5 nanometers. You cannot buy a simple laser that produces this light. You have to create a system that generates it from nothing. ASML's method is both brilliant and extreme. Every second the machine fires 50,000 microscopic droplets of molten tin into a vacuum chamber. A first laser pulse hits each droplet and flattens it into a tiny disk. A second, more powerful carbon dioxide laser then strikes the same droplet. The tin instantly turns into plasma at temperatures around 200,000 degrees Celsius. As the plasma cools, it gives off the exact 13.5 nanometer light needed. The system has to hit 50,000 moving targets every second without missing. ASML spent decades perfecting this process. When China started its own effort, the engineers faced a choice. They could try to copy the droplet method, or they could try something different. Public reports and research papers show they are exploring both routes. One approach that stands out is laser-induced discharge plasma, often called LDP. ASML looked at similar ideas years ago and moved away from them. In the LDP method, two metal disks rotate slowly inside a bath of heated liquid tin. The disks pick up a thin coating of tin as they turn. These disks act as electrodes connected to large banks of capacitors that hold a big electrical charge. A small laser fires at one disk and vaporizes a tiny amount of tin, creating a cloud of vapor between the two disks. The capacitors then release their energy. A powerful electrical current jumps through the vapor cloud. The magnetic field created by that current squeezes the vapor into a hot, dense plasma. That plasma also emits 13.5 nanometer EUV light. The method uses no giant carbon dioxide laser and does not require hitting tens of thousands of flying droplets every second. It is mechanically simpler in some ways. So why did ASML stop working on this approach? 20 years ago, the problem was not creating the light. The problem was creating enough of it. Chip factories need hundreds of watts of stable EUV power. Without high power, every wafer takes far too long to expose. The LDP method ran into a physics limit. When engineers added more energy, the plasma grew larger, but did not become much brighter in the useful wavelength. The mirrors could not collect enough of the light. Power kept rising, while usable light stayed low. At the time, the method topped out around 30 watts, while ASML's later droplet systems reached hundreds of watts. China is not claiming the older method is automatically better. The bet is that materials, control systems, and engineering knowledge are better today than they were 2 decades ago. Research teams have shown working prototypes of both light generation methods. Power levels reported in 2026 sit in the range of 100 to 150 watts. That is a big jump from zero, but still well below the 250 to 600 watts used in current commercial ASML systems. Some ASML research work is even looking toward 1,000 watts. China has built its own EUV light source from scratch for the first time. Generating the light was a major hurdle. Once you have the light, you still have to focus it perfectly onto a silicon wafer. That leads to the next enormous problem. The light has to travel through a chain of mirrors because glass lenses simply absorb EUV radiation. At 13.5 nanometers, almost every material swallows the light instead of bending it. Engineers therefore use a series of special mirrors that bounce the beam all the way down to the wafer. These are not ordinary mirrors. Each one is built from dozens of extremely thin alternating layers of materials such as molybdenum and silicon. Every reflection still loses at least 30% of the light. By the time the beam reaches the wafer, only a small fraction of the original power remains. There is almost no room for error. Every mirror surface has to be smooth at the atomic level. Building them is extremely difficult. Measuring and aligning them is even harder. For decades, only one company, Zeiss, knew how to make production-grade EUV mirrors at this level of perfection. They spent more than 30 years refining polishing, coating, measurement, and alignment. China could not buy those finished mirrors under the export rules. Research institutes, especially the Changchun Institute of Optics, Fine Mechanics, and Physics, took on the optics challenge. Building an EUV mirror requires a surface smooth to around 50 picometers, less than the width of a single atom. China already had strong experience with precision optics for space telescopes, but EUV mirrors are a different class of difficulty. Even if you can polish the surface, you still need tools that can measure it at that scale. Those measurement tools themselves are rare. On top of that, the mirrors inside a running machine are constantly hit by tin plasma debris and intense radiation. Keeping the delicate coatings stable for years of factory use is a separate engineering battle. Reports indicate that Chinese teams have produced domestic multi-layer mirrors and integrated them into prototype optical systems. Reflectivity figures around 65% have been mentioned compared with the roughly 70% achieved by the best Zeiss mirrors. The difference sounds small but compounds across the many reflections inside the machine. Overall optical performance is still below commercial scanners. China appears to be making a deliberate trade-off. If the mirrors are less efficient and the light source is weaker, one way to compensate is with size. Larger collectors, bigger mirrors, and a longer optical path can gather more of the available light. That is one reason the Shenzhen prototype is reported to occupy nearly an entire factory floor, while an ASML scanner is far more compact. Scale is being used to make up for gaps in absolute perfection. The Changchun teams have integrated domestic optics into the prototype scanner. This does not mean the quality matches Zeiss yet. Mirror lifetime under heavy use remains a major open question. Still, assembling a working domestic optical path that can handle EUV light inside a scanner is a real milestone. Even with light and mirrors solved, the machine still cannot run without a material that seems almost too ordinary. Helium. The same gas that fills party balloons is critical inside EUV tools and throughout advanced chip factories. Helium carries heat away from the hottest parts of the system better than almost anything else. It is chemically inert, so it does not damage the delicate optics or contaminate the wafers. Its tiny atoms also make it perfect for finding microscopic leaks in the vacuum chambers. There is no practical substitute that does all of these jobs at once. A single advanced chip factory can use thousands of cubic meters of helium every month. China currently imports roughly 85% of the helium it needs. Domestic production is limited. Most of the global supply has historically come from a small number of countries, including Qatar, the United States, and Russia. Shipping liquid helium is time-sensitive. If delays occur, the liquid slowly boils away and is lost forever into the atmosphere. In July 2026, China placed temporary restrictions on helium exports to protect domestic supplies for its own semiconductor industry. Every molecule counts when you're trying to run experimental EUV systems and expand advanced chip production at the same time. The helium problem shows how deep the dependencies run. You can build lasers and polish mirrors, yet without a reliable supply of this simple gas, the entire machine stops. There's one resource even harder to secure than helium. You cannot buy it or dig it out of the ground. It lives inside the minds of the people who already know how the machine works. Sanctions can block hardware and components. They cannot erase knowledge that engineers already carry. ASML's long advantage came from decades of trial and error and a deep pool of people who understood every quirk of the system. China invested heavily in bringing experienced talent home. Engineers who had worked on EUV subsystems overseas were recruited with strong incentives, large laboratories, and the chance to work on a national priority project. One well-known example is Lin Nan, who previously worked on light source technology at ASML. After returning, he joined the Shanghai Institute of Optics and Fine Mechanics. His team began publishing research and filing patents on EUV light generation, including approaches that use solid-state lasers instead of the traditional carbon dioxide lasers. Research output on EUV topics from Chinese institutions rose sharply after 2020. Multiple teams began attacking different pieces of the problem in parallel. Some focused on lasers, some on mirrors, some on control software and stages. This parallel approach is how large engineering challenges are often solved. Instead of one group trying to build everything at once, many groups solve smaller pieces and then begin integrating them. The number of patents related to EUV technology filed in China has grown rapidly. The prototypes being tested today are a direct result of that returning experience combined with domestic research. Knowledge alone is not enough. It has to become hardware that runs reliably day after day. The Shenzhen prototype generates EUV light and occupies a large footprint. Power levels remain in the 100 to 150 watt range. Commercial ASML systems operate at much higher power for practical wafer throughput. There is still a clear gap in power, efficiency, mirror lifetime, and overall system maturity. The prototype has not yet produced working chips. Official targets have mentioned 2028 for first chips on the domestic tool, while people close to the effort often point to 2030 as more realistic. China does not necessarily need to match ASML's absolute performance to change its own situation. Right now, the most advanced Chinese chipmakers rely heavily on older, deep ultraviolet machines combined with multiple patterning steps. That process works, but is slow, expensive, and limited in how far it can shrink features. A domestic EUV tool that can replace 4 complex DUV steps with a single exposure would still be valuable, even if it prints fewer wafers per hour, and even if its yields are lower than ASML's. The goal is control of the technology, not immediate commercial dominance of the global market. Turning a laboratory prototype into a factory machine that runs 24 hours a day for years is a completely different challenge. A prototype can be fragile. A production tool has to survive constant use, scheduled maintenance, occasional failures, and still keep the circuits perfect. That requires an entire ecosystem of trained technicians, spare parts, software support, and process knowledge. When an ASML machine needs service, a global network of specialists is ready. China will have to build its own support system from the ground up. The machine that fills a factory floor is only the starting point. The real test is how quickly the power can be raised, the optics made more durable, the helium supply secured, and the whole system turned into something that can support high-volume manufacturing. China has crossed an important line by assembling a working domestic EUV prototype that generates the required light without relying on a complete foreign tool. The light source, the mirrors, the returning engineering talent, and the national focus have all moved the project forward. The distance from a laboratory demonstration to a reliable factory workhorse remains large. The stakes are high. Success would reduce one of the biggest remaining bottlenecks in China's semiconductor industry. Failure would mean years of effort and large resources spent on a system that never leaves the research stage. The race is no longer about whether China can generate EUV light. It is about whether the country can turn that light into a dependable manufacturing tool that runs every day. The starting line has been crossed. The long race is only beginning. If this look at the hidden side of chip technology was useful, like the video and subscribe so you catch the next deep dive. Which part of a machine this complex would you try to solve first if you were in charge? The light source, the mirrors, or the human knowledge needed to keep it running? Leave your thoughts in the comments.